The kitchen sink may have been thrown at every single move and opportunity 1 week ago at Long Beach, but it was Mikko Leino who was able to rise above and just about hold Juho Rainer at bay. It's not going to be as cut and dry as a street circuit, but this might be the great track for overtaking and one of the greatest all-around circuits that the world has ever produced. Nestled in Sao Paulo, this is the Autodromo José Carlos Pache. This is going to be an incredible showcase of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name is Jake Sperry. Alongside me for today's action is Reese Gardner. Daniel Costello is in the director's chair. He's using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But over we go to Interlagos, a circuit which has seen it all, has done it all, and is worth its weight in gold as one of the great race circuits that the world has managed to produce. We're going to head over to our GSRC track guide. This gives you an indication of what this great South American circuit has to offer.
Welcome to Autodromo's José Carlos Pache. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula One for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its 2 layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of 2 circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Senna S, followed by the blast towards the Descida do Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those 2 corners. But from Ferradura until Juchão, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo.
Interlagos, which has every single bit of battling for it, which creates such incredible action. And you consider as well that soon we will be getting rain for more and more vehicles out there. This is one of the few circuits in the world, Reese, that you look at and it goes, it's brilliant in the dry, it's brilliant in the wet, it's brilliant, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, that's the word I'd use to describe Interlagos as well, Sperry. Hi, everyone. Good to have you along for this show. This is the first time that I'm going to be commentating a Lotus 79 race here on GSRC. I've been looking forward to it for a while, and what a track we're at indeed. This track's been through quite a few changes since the Formula One cars of the 70s raced on it. Used to be a lot longer than this and resembled more of a maze than what it does now. But I think this current layout, it preserves the circuit's character, and it really goes to show how these cars, you know, on pretty much any track, they're absolutely fantastic. These ground effect machines are going to have a wonderful time through some of the fast corners around here, like Ferradura, Laranjina, and of course Curva do Sol.
Yes, there is always opportunities to find this track being simply put incredible. Let's talk about what happened last week and do so with the ability of the championship. Mikko Leino was able to put himself on top and do so with a fantastic display of driving against Juho Rainer, with JDS, Jack David Spickett, finding himself in 3rd position overall. John Olsen was able to take 4th with Dylan Freckleton 5th in the championship. That then leaves JB Masada in 6th and Alberto Pellegrini in 7th position. Daniel Gallis would find himself 8 ahead of Ferran Grau, and Kartik Pai rounding out the top 10. F1, of course, for those drivers with over 3,000 iRating. F2 for those who are slightly developing, Reese.
Yes, Pedro Marquez leading that F2 driver standings with Janne Lehmann only 17 points behind. Very close between Janne and Björn Ackermann as well. Another 3 points back. Quite a battle I'm seeing there for 5th place as well coming out of the first round. Klatska, Porter and Moorland only separated by 4 points. And it's incredibly close between Clapper and Martin Reisman as well towards the back end of the top 10. No matter where you are in this field, no matter what your I rating is, you've got someone that you're battling with.
Yeah, and some of that F2 battle will be in Split 2 because once again, we have Split. Of course, there is a Teams Championship here in the Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you can see it's Fittipaldi who are on top in that regard with a 19-point margin right now over Sanremo Racing with ATS, Acela, Lotus, TBR Racing, and the like down the order. But qualifying now has just found itself completed. We will go for our race details quickly. It is round 2 of 12. They've got 28 laps, an open setup they must use, so everyone's got a different bit here or there. No spare car, and of course this is an iRacing official server, so drive through at 17, disqualifications at 25. Your race winner last time out has put the car on pole. Mikko Leno finds himself there with Kartik Pai, a fantastic qualifying by him, alongside for company is then Juho Reiner and Timothy van den Berg on row 2. Danilo Sanfilippo has Barry West for company, 5th and 6th. John Olsen starts 7th with Dylan Freckleton in 8th, leaving AJ Roper 9th and Jean-Francois Boscus rounding out the top 10.
Starting in 11th, the number 16 of Pedro Marquez with Gernot Fritzsche starting alongside him. Shadi Ahmad and Daniel Gallis are going to share the 7th row with Gary Ho and Fabio Sal, 15th and 16th. Tyler Green and Daniel Repetto on row 9th. Ian Haycox and Doug Cloud are going to round out our top 20. And last on the grid, oh my lord, Jack David Spickett, one of the faster drivers in this championship, did not set a qualifying lap. It's going to be a last 2 question mark challenge for him, as he put in the InSim text chat.
Well, he was very upset with his qualifying because he was trying to put the laps together and it did not manifest. This is a shaken up grid here today, so opportunities for those at the front to try and go quickly. It's a difficult start for those on the front 2 rows of the grid. They got an uphill start. It's a flat start for those in the next 2 rows, and after that it's a downhill start for those after. So there might be that massive concertina off this start. Track temperature 83 degrees. I would say it's relatively cold for Brazil out there, that track temperature. That is perfect for what these drivers want to be racing with. I'd say ideal in terms of their conditions. And we do have some legends of the Lotus 79 series giving a watch. Topi Korteniemi is keeping his eyes peeled on this. One car then will not take to the grid. That's Barry West. Green flag in the air, and we're underway. A shocker from Kartik Pai off the front. He really wheel spins that one. He'll lose one out then to both Reiner and van den Berg into the center S for the first lap here out of 28. Descending down through, everyone on cold tyres, tiptoeing their way around. And it looks like everyone has managed to make it through unscathed, but Mikko Leno getting what he wants off this run with Reiner, who gave him everything last time out in chase, and then a little bit of side-by-side as they go through. AJ Roper out there with the likes, of course, of Pedro Marquez.
Oh, yeah, and unfortunately balked by Danilo Sanfilippo. I think missed a gear. That held up Roper and that allowed Marquez through.
In trouble. JDS in trouble near the back. He's come together with Shadi Ahmad, then going through to Interlagos turns 4 and 5. So some major dramas then on the opening lap that has found a couple of drivers not where they want to be. This is Gary Ho, who finds himself then a little bit down the order with some work to do. He's looking at Doug Cloud for position through the very technical middle sector.
Yeah, this is the slow section of the racetrack where cornering grip can be at a premium. These cars, of course, from the middle of the ground effect era of Formula One, which means the faster you go through a corner, the more downforce you have at your disposal. And unfortunately, those hairpins don't do you many favors. But at the end of lap 1 is Nye, and Leno has managed to bring it out to a 1.2 second lead, working out really well for him. Barry West, meanwhile, pit lane start for him. He's already made up 4 positions on the first lap.
Yep, so a wonderful charge by Barry, who has been able to run on forward. I don't think he was expecting to be so high up the order. He's there. Oh, straight on in the background there. Someone's gone scattering across at turn 1. I think it's Tyler Green who's completely missed the corner there. But Timothy Van den Berg keeping his eyes focused here on where does he go to make these moves. Not quite there yet in terms of Kartik Pai. But there is JDS, who was caught up on lap 1. And look at how he's having to try and navigate through. That is Barry West. He's managed to find a move on. And behind that, Ian Haycock making the pass there on Tyler Green.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of very close racing in the midfield at the moment. And Spickett having a pretty good lap there. A bit wide in the corners there. Ian Haycock's in the number 15. But he'll gather it up for the hairpins. Now the challenge is for Spickett whether he can pick his way through this midfield and get back into the top 10. The driver he'll be targeting is Gernot Frischer in the Ligier liveried machine that you see just flicking through the frame every so often. Very close, meanwhile, between these two yellow machines of Gary Ho and JDS. And it looks like a compromised exit there for Ho. And I think Spickett's going to get the move into turn 1.
Well, you're going to have to rely on the slipstream here of Doug Cloud in front as we see the fastest lap come in then from Juho Reiner going through. 2 tyres in the grass for Gary, and there goes 1, and I think Barry might want a second here to be there. Gary's going to defend this one over to the inside, but there are looks here, there, and everywhere. Suddenly there's a little look around the outside of 1, inside of 2. Oh, Jack, that's just filth. Pure filth of an overtake. You don't get much better. Meanwhile, Jenna Creature just down the road. He's looking like he's trying to line this one up right now on Jean-Francois Boschers in the Ferrari, and he gets that one nicely done. The living legend that is, of course, Gernot Fritsch. Well, there was a time about, I'd say 7-8 years ago, where Reese, where he couldn't be beaten, as I think we're going to take a look at the GSRC replay.
Yeah, indeed. Get another view of the race start here for the number 18 of Tyler Green. And oh my God. Okay, well, that explains a few things. Who's that he hit? The number 14. That was Shadi Ahmad, who was, compromised in the first turn there. Actually, that was down at Descida del Lago, I believe. So, wow. Yeah, unfortunate goings on there at the back of the field.
Yeah, and this is not going to rest. Down in this group right now with Gary Ho spearheading, Barry West, Doug Cloud. There is said Tyler Green, as close as you like there through Junsao. The junction corner, Ian Haycock's there, and Daniel Repetto, the last car on the lead lap, in 20th position, all giving chase then on this long run to the NRS. Always opportunities for moves to be had, and for Gary Ho, it looks like he's going to keep that in line down here a little bit further down in the pack. We'll get another look at things that happened in the early stages. This is Chad David Spickett's view here on the inside, trying to run forward, has the issue go forward, and then Shadi Ahmad, there's nowhere for Jack to go, and he just drives straight through him there, takes him along for a little bit of a ride.
Yeah, so Spickett came up on that incident between Tyler Green and Shadi Ahmad, and just lap 1 gonna lap 1 really. Everyone's packed so close together on the first lap. If an incident happens in front of you, you don't have much time to react. Fortunately for JDS, the only damage he suffered was a little bit to the left side of his front wing, which doesn't seem to have hurt his pace all that much. He's up 7 spots.
Yeah, there is your race leader, Mikko Leno, now out to 1.8 there or thereabouts seconds worth of lead at the front of this field. Juho Reiner desperately trying to keep this one somewhat sustainable in this race right now. But the key here is that Mikko Leno is turning the screw, a 24.6 on that last lap, pretty much saying, I'm going purple, you try and stay with me, and that's becoming more and more difficult in terms of this race. Look at 4th position though, because it is starting to close back up. Timothy Van den Berg can't keep the pace of the top 3, and he's falling backwards towards John Olsen and Dylan Freckleton in the TVR car. BG's as much as you like over the car. He's looking for a way to say, well, you win again, but I'm going to get as much as I can.
Yeah, good stuff for the time being. A very nice little battle here for the top 4. Freckleton gaining a little bit here on Olsen, who took a bit of a wider entry into Descida del Lago, as we check a bit further back to Daniel Gallis, who hasn't had a very good lap. coming into Junsao on the last lap. He slid into the corner that allowed JDS by on the exit. So another position up for Jack David Spickett. But Gallus losing a lot of time there, and I think struggling to keep the car under him at the moment in this number 17. You can see he's just a little bit offline compared to everyone else. And this section of the track, rhythm is so important.
They say that rhythm is a dancer and music is the answer, but I'd say hitting apexes is the answer right now for Daniel Gallus down in 15th. He knows that if he can just find and string together the corners that he wants, he won't be in too much trouble compared to those drivers in and around him at this point, which includes Gary Ho, and trying to stay with Barry West as much as possible up the hill. I think that's going to be something worth keeping in mind here in this race. And you can see right now how tough it is to really get that launch. They're up at 275 clicks for Gary Ho, and there goes Daniel Repetto, and he's going to make that one look very easy there in the Williams. Beautifully done there, and that, you would say, is as beautiful as a pass you're going to get into turn one.
Yeah, lovely little pass there from Repetto. You know, it's one of my favourite overtaking spots on any circuit on iRacing. You can brake so late into that corner. Inside, outside, doesn't matter where you are, you stand a chance of getting the move done. We move up to 6th spot. Dylan Freckleton with AC/DC on the side of his car. Let's see how thunderstruck John Olsen will be when this pass is potentially made. We will see.
Yeah, it was the BGs first and foremost. Now it's AC/DC. This is Daniel Gas. Oh, he was trying to catch it one. And let's see how he went through the junction with the Ayrton Senna helmet. Oh, and he very much.
And there's JDS arriving on the scene.
Yeah, that was the key there. That was Jack David Spickett pretty much having to take avoiding action, and that was the key there in terms of this. Cherno Freacher, though, gets one in the back pocket. AJ Roper dispatched of. AJ is going to try and find a way back, but he's not going to be able to on that outside. Cherno running himself forward now. He's +4. He's got his eyes on the F2 Championship leader. What a drive Pedro Marquez is having.
Yeah, Pedro Marquez ahead of these two at the moment. He's on his lonesome at the moment, but Dylan Freckleton passing John Olsen into Interlagos. It looks like the two of them came together and is allowing Marquez a little bit of extra time to catch up to them. Oh, yeah, just saw what happened to Roper there. Poor exit from Interlagos.
Well, there's more than that. He half spun the car, and now Jean-Francois Boscus is through. John Olsen in 5th now, looking out at Dylan Freckleton here, who is trying to find a way to make these passes, but at this stage, he's not quite at the stage where he's got what he wants, but there's still only at the 1/4 stage in this race. There's a long time to go in order to pick up these moves. And again, through at the junction and back up the hill once more, climbing for the run here at Arquibancada, heading over towards the Skida dos Boxes, which is the small flick left here to get through the final stage. And of course, that incredibly fast run heading over towards turn one. But once more, John Olsen not in a position to make this move or to see the move from Dylan Freckleton in reality.
Yeah, a little bit crossed up there through turn 2, though. This might offer the opportunity for Freckleton to get by into Interlagos. See the slipstream come into effect here. Brilliant run for the number 7, but he's not close enough to get the move done. The track narrows up quite a bit through this section, so you've got to be assertive in making your moves.
Absolutely. It's the circuit that you can go side by side for a whole lap should you need it, but it does cost you time continuing to compromise a line here and a line there, up through Ferradura, the horseshoe corner, and in through the Laranjina, which comes along next. Now into the Pinarino, down the hill, looking to try and attack back up the hill to the Duckstills corner. The Bico de Pato, the tightest corner on this circuit, just 80 clicks as you go through here. And then the Hulo, which is really understated to go through. And a nice hello on the helmet from Dylan Freckleton, which we'll see time and again.
Yeah, try and nail the exit here from Junsao. Looks like Olsen got the better run out of the corner there, but you've got to be careful on the upshifts. These cars have a manual gearbox, but you can shift without the clutch. It's just a case of lifting. You can snick into the next gear, but if you don't time it right, you will miss it. And here for Dylan Freckleton, he's braking so late into the corners here, but Olsen is holding strong. This is the point where Freckleton starts to get the run that he wants, but he just needs to build up that speed a little more if he really wants to get by Olsen.
Well, this is going to be a case of where do you find the pass if you are one Mr. Dylan Freckleton at this point. He realises that in this race that they are losing a little bit of time here to Timothy van den Berg. It's 1.4 seconds and it's falling away. Jack David Spickett now is on the back and it's just dispatched on this lap of Fabio Sal. So Fabi's been dealt with. Now it's up for Jean-Francois Boscus if he can pivot his way forward. There are places where he can make a dive like now, but has to lift out of that one because that could have been easy to have an accident there. The door firmly slamming shut. It's a surprisingly long braking zone into Laranjina.
Yeah, longer than you expect, but if you can cut the curbs right, then you get a magnificent run through these corners. And you see how much more on the racing line Spickett was coming down through the descent to Junsao. He is absolutely reaming this track and just manages to sneak alongside in time. Thought for a second he'd have damage to the right side of his front wing there, but he is alongside Boscus now. And I get the feeling he's going to complete the move here at turn one. This little exchange has given a bit of an advantage to AJ Roper and the orange car ahead. But, oh, look at Spickett there. He's almost losing it in the braking zones. He's driving hard.
He's got a very twitchy car out there, has Jack David Spickett, but he is at one and he makes the move up. And that puts him plus 10 here today in his race. And he's running, I would say, into a problem in this group in the fact that he can't guarantee these passes on these long straights because of the fact the moment he pulls out of the slipstream, he hits a brick wall. Speaking of brick walls, though, look at all that battling between Freckleton and Olsen. It's brought Marquez and Freacher on this group.
Yeah, it's a four-way train now for fifth position. Freckleton having recently made the move on Olsen on this lap. And on board here with Frischer, you see how much wheel work is required. These cars, of course, producing all of their downforce pretty much through the underbody. So they run the cars incredibly stiff and super heavy steering as well. You've got to be so precise with how you drive these things. They're like giant go-karts, which means you see some massive go-karting style maneuvers, which we might see at turn one here. Frischer in the slipstream and up the inside. He's going to go at turn one, but it's defended from Marquez. A little bit later on the brakes. He's going to keep it going. Easy does it outside now for Curva de Sol, and I think this will give him the move.
Well, the next two corners are left-handers here, so Freacher versus Marquez. This is brilliant. You could say it's a legend versus the F2 championship leader, and it looks like they are complete equals at this moment. Freacher with the inside at the Ski del Lago comfortably dispatches of that then in the end, but he had to work for that move, and look at what it cost these two, about a second and a half.
Yeah, a lot of time lost to Olsen and Freckleton ahead, who've started to space out relative to each other as well. Looks like Freckleton's starting to give chase to Timothy van den Berg, and we might see a battle start to form for that crucial fourth position as well. If you're curious about the top three, well, there's not really much to show right now. Mikko Leino, his lead has ballooned out to 3 3/4 of a second. Juho Rainer just can't match his pace.
No, and this has very much shades of early 94 where Senna couldn't match Schumacher's pace around this circuit. Leino a 24-4 up the books, going up and lighting up. AJ Roper looking a little bit slow, coming up Junsao in 3 places lost as well. He's had a massive slide going through that section. And I tell you what does make this difficult is Jean-Francois Boscus now looks around the outside and gets the pass on Fabio Sal. What does make that section of road so difficult out there, Reese, is the fact that lots of these drivers just want to run on effectively the grass rumble strip on that right-hand side out of Mahulo to maximize the run at Junsao.
Yeah, you can put pretty much the whole car on that curb, and drivers will use that to get an incredible run through Junsao if they nail the entry. But yeah, there's not much grip out there, so if you end up losing the car, then your entire run down the start-finish straight is ruined, finding out the hard way there for AJ Roper. But now Boscus has very close company of Fabio Sal, who isn't willing to let him get away.
Well, let's take a little look then with the GSRC replay here in terms of how it went wrong for AJ Roper. Out there as he's on the brakes, and he just loses the back coming in, and he's so quick on the brakes and making sure there's full counter steer. He only goes to a quarter spin comparison to the turn, and as such, I'd say a little bit less damage than he thought he was going to get. Here comes Cherno Freacher now, who is locked and loaded with John Olsen. How late do you want to leave it here for the brakes? He gets a nose to the inside, and he might get a bit more than that here with John. Straight on through. A yellow helmet syndrome pass, if ever I saw one, in the land of Ayrton Senna.
Lovely stuff. I saw Freacher was just balancing that thing on the edge of grip through turn one. He was rotating that thing through the corners. Olsen's not going to let him get away with this easy, though. He's going to try and keep up through the twisties. On board here with Olsen, we now stare at the back of Cherno Freacher, but a really nice exit out of Decido del Lago. I get the feeling the number one is going to keep that place.
He will do, but he's got a lot of chasing to get in at this point in time. Yes, he's currently P6, up 6 places, but he's got to get to the back of Freckleton and then Timothy van den Berg. And Freacher would have felt very disappointed that he didn't get his second lap in the way he wanted to, because his first lap was the fastest of anybody's first laps.
Yeah, indeed. Man, what a incredible fight up through this middle part of the field. Olsen continuing to lose time to Freacher here, and I briefly saw Marquez fall within a second of this number 6 machine. So we'll have to wait and see what more comes of that, whether or not we'll see Marquez get a bit more consistency here and continue his great run up through the field. 3 positions gained at the halfway mark. But as far as good runs go, Jack David Spickett, absolutely fantastic. He sits in P10 right now, and he could finish even further in the top 10.
Well, he's got Danilo Sanfilippo right in front of him, Mr. Palermo, his brother Marco not here, of course, but Danilo finding a little bit of love in the classics. There is Fabi Sal looking for his chance to get back forward if he can and jump up and get another move sorted. It's not often that we see Fabio Sal out there, and he is really going to be trying to charge on forward, get every single move done, and that is the most Moe livery I think he's got there. He's got the Hello Kitty helmet and everything.
Yeah, indeed. Certainly not the kind of livery you'd expect to see on a Lotus 79, but it works. There aren't enough pink race cars out there. I think we should see more of them. Certainly fits with the retro colors of the time period. Really love it.
Well, we're talking 1970s. I thought every race car, Reese, was a shade of brown.
Yeah, sometimes it seemed that way, didn't it?
Well, everything else was brown. You had brown McDonald's, you had brown this, brown that, brown everything was there.
Brown bricks, brown carpets.
Yep, here comes Jack David Spickett, probably the least brown in terms of this series, trying to find a pass, but look at how he's got the car set up. Danilo Sanfilippo was quicker in front of him, even though he's in the draft. Jack's gone for a higher downforce set, but he's got so much more confidence on the brakes, nobody can stop him.
Yeah, that tells me he's running a bit more rearward brake biased, and I mean, why wouldn't you in this car with those super thick rear tires, putting a lot more rubber down to the road in those braking zones than the fronts. Also seeing the way he rotates the car through the corners as well. You know, these cars, they do like it when you slide them a little bit through the corners. The tires can maintain the grip, so it'll certainly help him out in this section. You know, the high downforce making his run very nice here.
It certainly is, and this is where Jack David Spickett now finds his first bit of trouble in terms of trying to catch the next driver, because he's got 7 seconds to try and mow down to Pedro Marquez, who is currently on that last lap, half a second a lap quicker than him. So has Jack David Spickett hit the proverbial wall in terms of how he charges forward in this race? That is to be decided, of course, in the longer phases going through. But you have to give a bit of credit here to Dylan Freckleton, because Timothy Van den Berg hasn't been able to run away to the tune that he maybe would like in the number 13 machine. He's there, but a little bit further back behind Jack David Spickett. There was a little bit of looking for moves between Boskus and Saul, with Boskus holding his place. But Van den Berg right now is going to have to look behind in that Alfa Romeo and realise that, uh-oh, I've still got Dylan Freckleton in the TVR looking for every which way to try and get through. And if it doesn't work out for Timothy Van den Berg, he'll be back to black.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, he'll start to look black and blue if Gernot Fritzsche brings the pace like he seems to be doing. He's catching up to the both of them. Meanwhile, AJ Roper, who's had a bit of a troubled race at the moment, contending with Barry West, who qualified 6th but started from the pit lane. West's pace certainly is looking good at the moment, but he hasn't advanced as far as the likes of Jack David Spickett. Let's see if he can get this position in the retro Saudia Williams livery. A little bit of an earlier turn in, fire that thing towards the inside of the corner, try to get the exit. A little wide for Roper. He's having trouble in this section of the circuit, I've noticed. This is where he's made most of his mistakes, and this is where we might see Barry West take advantage.
Yeah, it's in the medium speeds where we've been seeing AJ Roper a little bit, quote-unquote, ropey out there at this moment in time. But Barry West, who, of course, started in the pit lane after qualifying the car in 6th, would have been a massive shock to him. Barry is pretty much as eternal as this car is in terms of being there. And speaking of which, AJ Roper's just spun it, and through goes Barry West.
Yeah. Good avoidance there from Barry. Unfortunately for Roper, he just got a slide on coming into the mid-corner. He got immediately on the brakes and managed to recover it. We check a bit further back here to Daniel Gallis, Tyler Green, and Gary Ho. Green trying to get the move done here at Descida do Lago. He will get it done, but has he gone too deep? No. Oh, actually, he might have. Oh, dear. Massive damage for Tyler Green. That's the end of his race.
Straight down the inside, catches the AstroTurf, and that's how quickly a car like this can snap. This is no go-kart. This is a very difficult car when it goes wrong. Try and bring it back together again. So he'll be pretty much out of this one. 3 wheels on his wagon. But here is Fabi Saal, hoping he's got away there in his machinery there to make that charge up forward. What can he do? Gernot with the fastest lap then of the race as he looks to try and chase back up onto the group, and he's got there. But now Fabi is finding out how tough it is for him on the straight. He can only match in top speed Jean-Francois Boskus.
Yeah, does seem that that is the case, and have a look at that. He's trying to angle to the inside of the corner a little later for a better run out of Curva do Sol. Didn't seem to work out too well for him that time, but he'll use the slipstream to sneak up just a little bit more here into Descida do Lago. Slightly later on the brakes. Unfortunately, doesn't get the best of runs on the way out of the corner. Meanwhile, here comes Gary Ho on Daniel Gallis.
I would just want to point out that Tyler Green has just done the most amazing thing in iRacing. He has actually put the car, he's just towed it back to pits, but he actually put the car behind the barriers to make sure he was in a safe position to tow. Gary, in full motion rig and VR, finds out that he just has to struggle. Daniel Gallis holding on to station at the moment, but if we can get a replay of Tyler Green, that would have been the most amazing thing to see. He was behind the barriers there to make sure he was safe, and that takes realism to a whole new level.
Yeah, certainly does. I love all the drivers here that go for that maximum immersion there. Gary Ho also racing with an H-shifter like this car had in the real world. And look at the way that he moves down the gears there. He's skipping gears in the braking zones, which you don't usually see.
Oh, watch out, because it's going to be 3 wide. Gernot and Freckleton Freckleton gets by Vandenberg, so too does Gernot Fritsch, but all of a sudden, the powder keg ignites, and Timothy Vandenberg has 2 for his mistakes.
Wow, that was incredible there. He just didn't get a very good run out of Curva de Sol and got nabbed by the both of them on the way down to Descida de Lago. He backed right out of it. He knew that he didn't want to be a part of all of this, but this is a great three-way battle now for 4th spot. Freckleton still holds on to it, but Fritsch's pace is magnificent right now. He's running as fast as Micoleno in the lead.
He very much is, and that's just a testament to his power. The only issue he's got is he gave Micoleno a 15-second head start with 10 laps to go here in this one right now, with, of course, Leno leading by over 5 seconds at this moment in time. Reiner second, Kartik Pai third, and now Dylan Freckleton finding himself in 4th. But watch out, because Gernot's got a rocket ship, and he's trying to find a way through. 8Ks faster on the straight into turn 1 at the center S, and he will now try and line up 2 down the hill. This gives you all the setup you need for the Curva de Sol and over towards Descida de Lago. Watch out, here comes the Austrian.
Did you see how much more aggressive he was being over the curbs than Freckleton? He's got a lot of confidence in this car, and I noticed he did a mini drift through Curva de Sol as well. Man, Gernot Fritsch has absolutely got this car down pat. He's driving it exactly as they would in the real world, exactly what you need to be fast. The move isn't going to come on this lap, but it'll surely come very shortly. We got another replay to dissect here, and this is what happened to Tyler Green. He, yeah, like you say, Sperry, parked it right up by the gap in the barriers and just did the gentlemanly thing and escaped from there.
Yep, parked it up beautifully right now with Gernot Fritsch here in 5th position. I tell you this, Reese, if there was an iRacing Hall of Fame, he'd be first ballot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is some brilliant pace that we're seeing from Gernot, the #1 car in the session, and he's been notorious for his straight line speed at this round. He doesn't immediately go for the move at turn 1 this time, though, as Freckleton, though, will run one a little wide. Oh, this could be the chance that Gernot needs.
1 crossover, now looking for a second crossover in the Ligier to get through. Freckleton immediately over to the inside, but he doesn't have the same straight line that Gernot Fritsch has. Welcome to Descida de Lago, leaving the room on the outside. Drive is there off the exit. Gernot is up 8.
Brilliant move there by Gernot. He took a few corners to set that one up, but it's all about setting it up a few corners in advance at Interlagos with the way this track flows. Now it's defense time for Freckleton as Vandenberg is right on the back of him. This battle is not over between these two, and they've still got John Olsen there a few seconds back, who hasn't exactly been caught by Pedro Marquez. If anything, Olsen running a 10th quicker than Vandenberg.
Yep, so Vandenberg's realising that he's still got to step on it at this point in time from Mid-South, and Fabi round the outside of the Pinarino. Oh, get that one done. He took advantage of the slide mistake by Jean-Francois Boscas, but that is pretty much move of the race.
Yeah, that's brilliant stuff. You know, seeing drivers go for the outside move at Pinarino is magnificent in any car, but especially in these ones. The commitment you have to have around the outside, off the racing line, off the rubber. Absolutely nailed it. Well, Boscas now down 2 positions, may very well make it 3 if Barry West continues on the run he's got behind there. But will Boscas come back here at Fabio Sal? No move into turn 1, but with that run through turns 1 and 2, I think Sal might be in danger at Descida de Lago.
Well, he got an amazing launch actually off of turn 2 of the center S, and that's what's given him that safety heading towards the next left-hander. That downforce really coming into play and giving him what he needs to defend through that section of road. Wonderfully done. I do want to point out, though, Kartik Pai is really keeping Juho Reiner honest. Look at that gap. It's about 1.2 to 1.4 seconds. It's fluctuating about out there on the timing tower. So number 4, Kartik Pai, I think is really showing that experience he's got, which is over a decade.
Yeah, Kartik Pai, of course, qualifying on the front row, and if he hadn't messed up the standing start, who knows where he would have been if he'd have been able to challenge Mikko Leino. He'll certainly be challenging Juho Rainer. See the lap time difference between them on the last lap. Kartik Pai running only 1,000th of a second faster than Juho Rainer. I think with still 6 laps to go, we could see a charge from him at the end.
Oh, there is definitely opportunities to see overtaking here and late in this race, and this is a circuit that traditionally has had, so to speak, an air of the dramatic about it. AJ Roper, watch out, because he's got his move done on Barry West, and he would be desperate for 2 more places here, and that would jump him to 11. But look at Barry flying, not just Saudi, as he goes then to try and chase this down. He is looking to fly for P12 back, P13 back again, close as you want, and they're scrapping in front, and you can't get that much close there before the front wing gets obliterated.
Oh, yeah, almost ran right into the back of AJ Roper there. Lucky escape for Barry West. He's going to get that one gathered up and try to keep the attack up, but man, with how close this pack now is, it's a 4-car train for 11th place. You know, no matter what position you're in, there is something to fight for in this series. But Barry has to get back past Roper first. He's going to try and nearly runs into the back of them again.
Well, this is where you've got to have a little bit of a sensibility. If you're AJ Roper, you can't just throw it here, there, and everywhere. Jono Freacher, 23.8. Absolutely mind-bending in terms of time from him there with that. But a look back from Jean-Francois Boscus and the most famous engine in motorsport, Reese.
Yeah, a wonderful engine, this one. And here we go. Defensive for Boscus. Roper's going to go to the outside, but that's where you want to be on the way into turn 1. They bang wheels! Oh, my Lord!
And Barry West has to get out of it. Upside down is Jean-Francois Boscus in the grass at turn 2.
Oh my God, that was massive. That just goes to show, well, that's why you got to give a bit more space in open wheel race cars, because that can happen. Boscus got sent flying.
Absolutely pitched. And he had, some would say, the wrong livery on, because that was an aeroplane for a moment out there going down the hill at turn 1. Disastrous in terms of his race out there, but AJ Roper will continue in 12th place. Barry West in 13th will try and find a way through, but they have allowed Fabi Sal a huge gap now to try and break away, and will do so at this point. Roper still covering it off then in terms of that, and that was huge. No other way of saying it.
Yeah. Well, as Jono Fritsch again brings the fastest lap down, we'll see again what happened to Boscus here. Such a shame for Boscus, because he was doing really well, but unfortunately just turning in and going a bit deep initially in turn 1, car on the outside. And yeah, the laws of physics unfortunately not smiling on Boscus today.
You would also say with that sort of instant there, Reese, that's the reason why the Halo's invented. Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, God knows what what would have happened if that was a real world crash. You know, the roll hoops in these cars don't extend that much over the driver's head. Well, finally, Barry West gets alongside AJ Roper, and he's going to try and force the issue into Descida de Largo, pushed wide on the exit of the corner, and West is finally through again. Yep, so he manages to find that one. Brilliantly done by Barry West, and that was nicely concocted here as we now find ourselves with 3 laps to go. It is on right now for 2nd position. It is on right now for 5th and 6th as Freckleton sees with Timothy Vandenberg trying to give chase. Vandenberg has such a slow car in a straight line. He's bottoming out at 260 on the straight in draft.
Yeah, that's not normal, I don't think. Either he's got damage or he really wants to make up all of his time in the middle sector. I mean, these long straights at Interlagos, you need to strike a compromise between downforce and straight line speed, and you really see the difference between those setup styles in these cars.
You absolutely do, and this is one of the great circuits that makes you think, do you want straight line or downforce? And that's the key, and we're seeing it right now with Reiner and Prix as well. You can go up to second and third. That would be a perfect dichotomy because Juho Reiner's got a car for the straights. Kartik Pai's got one for the corners.
Yeah, I was just watching Reiner through the hairpins, and he was sliding all the way through. That was allowing Kartik Pai to catch up. Reiner with big wheel spin coming out of Junção. Those tyres won't be liking the treatment that he's giving them. Kartik Pai looking at second place with just 2 laps to go now. Mikko Leino now sets his first time in the 1 minute 23 second bracket. Kartik Pai running 0.4 of a second faster than Juho Reiner. Juho's in trouble.
Juho is so much in trouble. The only thing that's going to be saving him is the fact that he's even on a straight line. Preacher battling for fastest lap, takes that one back away, but watch out then with a lap and a bit here, a lap and a half here. Juho Reiner, this lap is going to be the important one. How close can the Texan Kartik Pai get to Juho Reiner? That is the question that must be asked on this one and this one alone.
See how much he catches up here in the hairpins, and keep an eye on Reiner's car. Keep an eye on that rear end, squirming around through these corners. You see how much it's sliding there. Kartik Pai, yes, does slide a little as well, but his car looks like a much more stable platform in this sector.
It certainly does, but I think Juho's doing just enough at this moment. 9/10 of a second, that gap, and they are running so quick. Out of time. Vandenberg still stuck on the back then of Dylan Freckleton. We're unable to find a way through, but the last lap will start then for Mikko Leino, who leads this one and leads it comfortably at this stage now. 7.5 seconds, pretty much 7 seconds right now with a bit of traffic to deal with, Reese.
Yeah, this is not good here for Mikko Leino. It's a battle for position between Repetto and Cloud here. They're going to be running side by side. And, well, if you're Mikko Leino, you don't want to get involved in this. You see how close Reiner and Pai still are. Leino does have a big gap to play with, but he'd rather be ahead of these guys.
Absolutely would. How close do you want to get? Up the hill towards Ferradura. Repetto looking for the inside. Cloud flying it around the outside. Oh, a little bit of a tap between those two. Still they fight side by side here, right in front of the race leader, who will be pretty much biting everything, and in fact he'll be at foam at this moment in time. Worried about these two, putting on a showcase right in front of him. He will let them fight. It's lost him 3 seconds over the course of this lap already, but that's why he built a gap for these two to scrap it out between them the whole lap, side by side in front of the leader. Finally, Doug Cloud gets what he wants. He goes through. Pai's not going to have much against Juho Reiner as they go through, but Mikko Leino left them in the dark again. Back-to-back victories as he makes sure it is his second straight here in the Sunday Grand Prix Series in the Lotus 49s.
Yeah, brilliant job from Mikko Leino. And, well, Kartik Pai gave it everything he could to catch up to Juho Reiner, but a slide in Junção put an end to his run. Jerno Fritsche, once again, taking the fastest lap back there on the final lap. Who knows where he would have finished if he qualified a little better. Just incredible pace from the number 1 there. Olsen with a very strong top 7. Doesn't have much of a fight to contend with. And Spickett up to 9th spot after starting dead last. What a drive.
What a drive, as most of these drivers realise that this has been brilliant, but Danny Repetto is not going to sit down and wait. Oh, he very nearly took out the rear right tyre of Doug Cloud. Doug just about gets there. Mikko Leino not happy over the communications, says blue means nothing, I guess. Well, actually, He's absolutely right. Blue does mean nothing. By Danny. He goes around. We say blue is advisory, not mandatory in this series race. Doug and Danny had every right to fight for that.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they were side by side. They were fighting for position. What else did Miko expect them to do? He built up enough of a gap that he could still take the win. So, I suppose he's justified in feeling a little frustrated, but at the end of the day, still came home P1 with a really good gap of nearly 4 seconds.
Absolutely. Daniel Repetto will be the last one over the line, which means we can now call this race official. Let's get classified results then here from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Miko Leno, the double. He took it at Long Beach. He will take it here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. He wins by 3.7 almost over Juho Reiner, a gap of 7.5 seconds with 2 laps to go. Kartik Pai tried everything that he could, but this is an incredibly strong podium for someone of his skills, with Jarno Fritzsche in 4th position with a masterful drive back through and constantly challenging on that fastest lap. Dylan Freckleton would best out Timothy Vandenberg, with John Olsen in 7th position. Give massive credit to Pedro Marquez in 8th place as the F2 championship leader. He's proving that he has got legit skills there, with Jack David Spickett in 9th and Danilo Sanfilippo, the man from Italy, rounding out the top 10.
11th place was Fabio Sal, up 5 positions. Great drive there. Barry West started from the pit lane and after qualifying 6th, so he would have been hoping for a little bit better from that. So would AJ Roper, down 4 spots with a few slides on the way through. Gary Ho, he had an awful lot to contend with in that race. 14th place is his position in the end, ahead of Daniel Gallis. Ian Haycox is going to finish up 3 spots in 16th, ahead of Doug Cloud and Daniel Repetto, last drivers to finish on the lead lap and even finish the race full stop. Jean-Francois Boscus, we saw with that massive crash, got sent flying, tumbling through the air, has to be classified 19th in the end. Tyler Green and Shadi Ahmad would be our 2 retirements from this race, certainly hoping for better from them next time.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those races that you sit down and look at and go, wow, pretty much everything was thrown in to what you need from a circuit like this. Reese, it is quite simple when you look at how the performances came about today. Miko Leno was head and shoulders above the field, and he walked away from it here today into Lagos. So the question will be for someone like Juho Reiner, you've been beaten 2 straight races. This is the car that pretty much is dominated by the Finns. I think outside of Jarno Fritzsche, it's pretty much Jarno Fritzsche, Andy T, and the rest of the champions in this series have been Finnish drivers. Miko Leno, one of the best.
Oh, yeah, a brilliant drive from Miko, and certainly showing why he is the championship leader. Juho Reiner with that strong finish as well. It is the Finn show, 1-2 at the front of this field. But we're going to leave Brazil behind, Sperry, and go to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the Industriefahrten layout for the next week of the Sunday Grand Prix series. The Lotus 79s will certainly have their work cut out for them there.
Yes, it's classics week, so to speak, when it comes to next week, because not only are the 79s going to be here, but the 49s are also going to be in play as well. We are going to get a chance to talk to one of our drivers out there. That is Barry West. Barry, rule 1, I believe, of sim racing is don't hit your teammate. Rule 2 is not to miss the start, but a great drive for you up through the field.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I must admit, one of the most enjoyable races I've done. I think I'll start from the back again. But yeah, well, it was hard work.
Well, we saw a lot of half work. We saw so many fantastic battles out there for you, Barry, as you were trying to charge on through the field. But talk us through the massive incident that you saw right in front of you between Jean-Francois Boscus and AJ Roper.
Yes, I got caught in the earlier race there, and I didn't slow enough. So I basically stopped, really, and which gave AJ a chance to get back at me. But I could have probably sailed through, but too risky. So I thought it's better to finish and the knot. So we lifted, and then we had a great little battle, AJ and I. I don't know where he came from. All of a sudden, he was in my mirrors again, and I thought I was leaving him behind. But then Jean-Francois, that's the guy I wanted to beat, and he obliged by doing a nice little spin in turn one, I think. So yeah, that was most agreeable. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, good.
Well, the aerial display, I'm sure, in front of you is absolutely something to see. But let's talk about a week from today. Nürburgring Nordschleife. How's the feeling about tackling the green hell?
I'm not very quick there. I can usually finish, but it's just it's people that it's the other cars that the problem. It's just during the track. I don't think it's very good for racing on, but it's brilliant to drive. But yeah, I don't particularly like racing there. This is a typical old school track where your setup. I had quite a high downforce setup, so I knew I was going to get mullered on the at the end of just before turn one. But I could really take the others quicker, Yoncar, and get a good run up the hill. But yeah, but the Nürburgring is just an ordeal, isn't it? Just to finish. That'd be fun.
It certainly will be, Barry, and I tell you what, we're going to be looking forward to it here from us at the Global SimRacing Channel. Floor is yours, though. Anybody you'd like to thank in terms of your performance here today?
My wife for letting me do it, really, I suppose, and you guys for putting on such a good show. But yeah, I just we have more of these old tracks. I mean, they're brilliant, aren't they? I mean, same in F1, and the tilt tracks are pouring, and these tracks are just so more entertaining.
Well,
so look forward to the Spanish GP now.
Absolutely. Well, happy wife, happy life. P12 here today on the charge from the pit lane. Barry West there joining us and having the opportunity to chat. Reese has wandered down pit lane. He's managed to find himself with Dylan Freckleton.
Wow, what a drive it was from you, Dylan. You were right in the thick of the action. That fight with the likes of Olsen, Vandenberg, and then Gernot Fritsch as well. Must have been stressful.
A little bit, but it was just fun. I always enjoy battling in the Lotus. It's a lot of fun, and lots of really good drivers, really good quality of field we've got, particularly the first couple of races of the season. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
How did you find the track? Obviously, Interlagos is a track where you need to compromise a bit on the setups. Do you go for the straight line speed, or do you go for the downforce in the middle sector? What direction did you go for?
For me, I took a load of downforce out of it. I wanted the top speed because the only real overtaking opportunity is the two long straights into turn 1 and into turn 4. And yeah, it makes it tricky, but then quite fun in the middle sector where it's twisty, and if you've not got a lot of grip, you have to manage that. But it was fun, and it definitely helped. I think I was better off going for the top speed rather than the grip. I think it definitely helped in some of those battles that I had.
Yeah, indeed, and those battles were very fierce indeed. It was certainly difficult to watch you going through all of that, knowing what must have been going through your head. Any moments in particular sticking out to you from that?
I think there was a couple of moments where I ended up 3 wide, but again, with the drivers in this series, and particularly the ones I was battling against, you're always going to get space. There was a bit of a dodgy moment where I lost the rear as I was trying to overtake John, but just about managed to hold that, and it all worked out okay. But yeah, it's fun. I love this series. I love battling with the rest of these guys.
Indeed. Well, we wish you the best of luck for next week's race at the Nürburgring. Is there anyone that you'd like to thank for your result before we let you go?
Thank all you guys for the broadcast. Do a great job as always, and all the drivers in the Lotus 79 community. It's such a great series to be involved in.
Absolutely is. We definitely think the same. That's Dylan Freckleton there, who finished top 5 in the end here at Interlagos in a fantastic, very eventful drive indeed. Well, Sperry, I think that wraps things up for tonight's broadcast. Very enjoyable night of racing.
It very much was, and for Dylan Freckleton, it will be a highway to the green hell 1 week from today, which will of course be at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. You'll want to be there with us But with that curtain closing, I want to give a massive thanks to everyone who's been able to get this through to you, this show on the Global SimRacing Channel. This, of course, from Reese, from Daniel, and from Dougie. This has been a Genesis Extreme production, and one which we have been very fortunate to use all of the equipment and music that have been created by these people in particular. You want to catch June Lalonde's stuff on Bandcamp if you haven't had the chance to already. We talked about it one week. We'll be at the Nürburgring, but we've got so much amazing sim racing coming up for you very, very soon. You're going to want to mark it down in your calendar. It's flying across the screen if you haven't already. You can follow all of our socials down there on the bottom. Go to our website and our merch store. If you haven't had the chance to already, it will give you an extra 0.2 of a second. But with Mikko Leino absolutely flying here today, that margin is going to be one where the likes, of course, of Juho Rainer is going to have to wake up and think, what do I have to do? Journo would love to find a little bit of a better qualifying effort because he showed that he had the one-lap pace to match Mikko Leino over the course of this one. But the green hell, it doesn't matter what your pace is. Survive, said the prophet. So, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you at the Nordschleife.